Heights. Rybakina was forced to strike downward and flirt with the net after she looped powerful topspin strokes that kicked above her shoulders. Immediately after, Eala would flatten the trajectory, sliding the ball across the turf. Rybakina's racket made a series of unintentional mistakes as a result of this persistent destruction of the strike zone. Rybakina stared at her box, gestured at the court, her gear, anything. But the equipment was not the issue, it was the geometry Eala was painting. The cross-court interchange became the kill zone. Rybakina's backhand is often impenetrable, but Eala was serving up tremendous angles and dips rather than flat balls. The lines were wide open for Eala to attack as Rybakina was being hauled off the court. 4-2, the Empire strikes back. You simply have to respect the grit of the world. Number 3, the entire Shock the World storyline was put on hold during the second set as order appeared to return. Rybakina came out furious, dialing up the heat on her serve. She stopped playing gently in long rallies and started pressing the trigger early. 6-2, Rybakina won the second set. The fairy tale seemed to have reached a dead end. You could see the physical toll weighing heavy on Eala. Chasing down Rybakina's powerful hitting is like running wind sprints for 45 minutes straight. As they relaxed, the commentators remarked, "Here we go, order restored." At last, the favorite was awake. However, the match really started to burn at that very moment. A vicious battle of attrition is about to begin. Legends are chiseled into stone in the third set, which is the last act. After using the loo, Eala emerged with a new outfit and, for some reason, new legs. It was no longer merely tennis. In the third set, a heavyweight boxing contest took place. The first 4 games were holds, but they were fierce battles that repeatedly ended in deuce. Rybakina's first serve percent started to decline. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was the pressure of a wild card who refused to die. The pivotal moment occurred at 4 different games. 30 all. Rybakina serving. Eala read a 115-mile-per-hour rocket, blocked it deep, and launched a 24-shot rally. They went back and forth. With each impact, the audience gasped. Rybakina attempted to put a stop to the suffering at last, shooting for a line winner but missing by millimeters. Eala, break point. The stadium blew the roof off. In the stands, Russian supporters covered their faces with their hands. With a breathtaking drop shot, Eala completed the break. Pure audacity against a player of Rybakina's caliber. All of a sudden, the score was 5-4 and she was serving. Eala must have been under oppressive pressure. This was the moment the entire world expected: the collapse, the choking. Standing on the brink of a giant killing is a typical way for underdogs to experience vertigo. Rybakina saved 2 match points. She punished Eala's second serves, extending it to deuce, then advantage out, break point Rybakina. She will probably steal the match if she breaks back. That was the atmosphere. But then Eala produced the shot of the tournament, a running forehand passing shot down the line. Curling back in to kiss the paint, he struck from outside the doubles lane. Even Rybakina had to admire that one. The fallout was unpredictable. Why? Because this shakes the foundation of the sport. The response was immediate when Rybakina's last ball flew far. Eala fell to the ground. Rybakina stood transfixed at the net, a look of genuine shock imprinted on her face. Why are they all so amazed? It's the difference in rankings. The world number 3 is being compared to a boxer who is just making it into the top 50. The disparity in prize money, experience and points is enormous. Additionally, Abu Dhabi's surface is a quick hard court. It is specifically designed for Rybakina. A cunning defender shouldn't be able to take down a power hitter there with such ease. Eala defied the physics of the court and addressed the consistency question. Rybakina is famous for being a rock in the early rounds. She nearly seldom drops matches to players outside the top 20. This defeat creates a gap in the draw and extreme anarchy in the betting markets. The geopolitical aspect comes next. The fan bases in Kazakhstan and Russia are quite fervent. They consider Rybakina to be the legitimate successor to the throne of women's tennis. For her to be ripped apart by a young rising star from the Philippines, a nation with a developing but lesser tennis footprint, is a tremendous shock to the system. The story of Eurocentric supremacy is contested. The fallout was explosive. The handshake was frigid yet courteous. Although Rybakina was obviously upset with herself, the true explosion took place on the internet. The term shock is trending everywhere. Rybakina's movements are already being dissected by analysts, who wonder if she is harmed or if she misjudged Eala. Let's change the narrative, though. This isn't about what Rybakina did wrong. It must have to do with what Eala accomplished well. Because it signaled a change in leadership, this match was explosive. Maybe it is too early to name it, but it is a warning that the big 3 or 4 of women's tennis are not safe. The pack is hunting them down. The entire tale is revealed by the statistics. Unintentional mistakes. Eala, 18, Rybakina, 45. Eala declined to award bonus points. Eala was 4 for 5 when it came to break-point conversion. Clinical efficiency. She took her chances the second they appeared at points were crucial. Eala won 80% of the points when she came forward. She wasn't just defending, she was finishing. This victory for Alexandra Eala is not just a win. It's a declaration, it's a loud, explosive statement that she should be on the center courts of the largest platforms in the world. It serves as a harsh reminder to Alycia Rybakina that danger exists in every round of the WTA. Once the ball is in play, a ranking is only a number. We are witnessing the rise of a new fan favorite. By the conclusion, the Abu Dhabi crowd, which had been either neutral or leaning toward Rybakina's star power, was singing Eala's name. That is the addictive power of the underdog story. That right there? That is this game's unadulterated, flammable essence. What comes next, then? In the Emirates, the sand is hardly settling on the courts. Yet the shockwaves from this duel are likely to resonate through the entire season. It's time for Alycia Rybakina. Anatomy. We must first examine the hazardous materials whirling inside the stadium cauldron in order to understand the extent of the explosion. Imagine the prologue, the traditional story of the Ice Queen and the underdog. Context is crucial. Alycia Rybakina arrived in Abu Dhabi not just to compete but to rule supremely. Her campaign on the hard courts preceding to this moment had been nothing short of totalitarian. Watching Rybakina work is like witnessing the zenith of knockout tennis. Her serve ranks among the most devastating in tour history. It is not merely the pace, often hitting 120 miles per hour, but the surgeon-like precision. Our strategy is horrifyingly simple. A powerful serve, a feeble response, a forehand smash, and the game is over. It is incredibly scary, economical, and brutal. Pre-match gossip was almost non-existent in the Russian and Kazakhstani press, motivated more by cold probability than by malice. Articles treated the Eala fight as a warm-up, concentrating on who she would face in the prize round. This extreme overconfidence is the cause of the collective gasp that is sweeping through Russia. They believed she was untouchable. Alexandra Eala, the Filipino sensation who has been quietly honing her craft in the background, then enters the picture. Forged in the Rafa Nadal Academy with junior titles to her record, the professional circuit remains a very different beast. Says Southpaw, Eala has a geometric edge, especially when slicing. Serves out wide on the ad side to stretch opponents, but she lacks Rybakina's sledgehammer strength in her arsenal. She uses kinetic chess, reading the action, and a forehand with a lot of topspin to destroy the timing of a flat hitter. Rybakina loomed over her, owning a reach and leverage advantage that looked insurmountable on paper. Experts chuckled as they looked at the matchup, claiming that Eala wouldn't have the firepower to respond and would be blasted off the surface. They could not have been more wrong. At 2-1, the trap was sprung, despite the plot holding for the opening act. Rybakina opened with a love hold, boom, 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 ace, reverberating like cannon fire into the back wall. Before Eala moved up to the cue and broke the illusion, it appeared to be the beginning of the end. Rather than fight fire with fire, Eala threw water on the fuse, deploying slicing cuts and wicked lefty curves. Rybakina was forced to stoop and lunge for odd balls as she pulled her out of her comfort zone. Rattled by 2 infrequent slips, Rybakina abruptly stared down a love 30 disadvantage while cruising along. Correction, forced errors. Eala had stepped inside the baseline on a second serve, normally a heavy kicker. Rybakina was left stranded when she rifled a backhand straight down the tunnel, robbing the Titan of time. The crowd fell silent, and the Russian broadcasters probably froze, their pens lingering in shock. Rybakina erased the breakpoints with characteristic aces. But the seed of doubt had taken root. Eala was not just surviving, she was pursuing her target, which resulted in the tiebreak that made headlines. This was not a rally, it was a grueling psychological siege. When Rybakina unleashed a rocket that was traveling at 100 miles per hour, Eala would scramble frantically and manage to get a defensive lob back into action. Eala neutralized the threat by snatching the first 7-6, sending a spike of bewildered electricity through the stands. The world Number 3 had lost a set due to a wild card outwitting rather than outgunning her, which was an impossibility. The tactical masterpiece of lefty spin breaking down flat velocity is covered in point 3. Now, let us study the mechanics of this upset. Why did Rybakina falter, and why is the tennis world so perplexed? Rybakina needs tempo to borrow, rerouting the energy like a mirror, because she thrives on rhythm. The harder you strike, the quicker she delivers it back, providing the timing is clean. Eala drained her of that speed. Eala used what we lovingly refer to as junk, a captivating combination of rotations and varying. What that is. It conveys the true worry pulsating through her supporters. Was this merely a malfunction, a lousy day at the office, or did Aleksandra Eala just hand away the blueprint on how to break Rybakina's game? Every potential competitor is probably already in the film room analyzing this material. They will see how Eala killed the pace by combining spin and depth. They will witness the Ice Queen genuinely melts if you bring enough fire and refuse to quit. Winners always bounce back, and Rybakina will. But that invincible cloak? It was severely damaged today. She needs to gather herself, perhaps modify her approach to dealing with southpaws, and come back with a fury. As for Eala, this is her lift-off moment. We have watched countless rookies land a giant killing punch only to vanish. But winning with brainpower, not simply luck, demonstrates she is here to stay. She didn't simply swing for the fences while closing her eyes. Brick by brick, she dismantled a titan of the globe. The Philippines finds a new icon, and the tour gets a wild card nightmare. This conflict in Abu Dhabi will go down in history as the turning point in the saga. Raw physics was defeated today by an unwavering spirit. It was electric, it was surprising and extremely gorgeous. I need your input before we wrap this up. How do you interpret the outcome of this earthquake? Did Rybakina just sleepwalk through that, or is Eala demonstrating she belongs in the top 10 elite? Is the concern back in Russia warranted, or is this just usual turmoil for the women's tour? Go now to the comments. I want to read your sizzling takes. Rybakina loyalists, explain the fall. How far will this run go, Eala Army? Predict her ceiling. Does she have the strength to raise the prize now that she has killed the dragon? Hey, if you enjoyed this in-depth analysis and value the specifics over dull box scores, please lend a hand to a creator. Press that like button more forcefully than a Rybakina champion. To stay up to date, click the bell and subscribe. We are watching the action in Abu Dhabi all week. Fasten your seatbelts if this opener was any indication. I appreciate you listening. On the court today, we made history. Stick around, keep the fire blazing, and never take your eyes off the ball.